What's up, friends? Welcome back. It's your girl Shy here, and I'm glad you're still attending our 52-week part series of Heal You Bloom. Of course, I'm glad to have you here with me. Last week we took a quick break from week 7 to kind of focus on self love. A lot of celebrating took place last week for Valentine's Day. However, I hope that you had the opportunity to listen to my self love podcast so that you can learn how to incorporate self love into everything that you do. Love isn't just one day of every year. Love, my friends, is each and every day. And we deserve the ability to understand and work towards ways to incorporate self love in our life. By doing so, guess what? You allow yourself the ability to teach others how to love you. So if you didn't get a chance to listen to it, please go ahead and play that as you prepare for the weeks ahead. Okay? Ready to get started? Now it's time to do a little reflection on the previous week. So in week 6, we explored setting healthy boundaries, what that looks like, and why it's so important, as well as how it allows us to thrive. If you haven't done so, I hope you've taken the time to reflect on your need to set limits in your life and how those boundaries create space for you to grow. This week, we're going to keep going, and we're leaning into something just as essential: navigating change. Change is a constant part of life, yet it often catches us off guard. Sometimes we limit how we welcome it with open arms, while other times it shakes the very foundation of our world. Again, sometimes when it comes to change, friends, we will welcome it with open arms, while other times we become a little hesitant to accept change in our life. But whether change feels exciting or unsettling, one thing about it remains true. Every shift brings growth, even when it's uncomfortable. So today, we'll explore how change can impact our careers, our relationship, and our well being. We're going to dive into ways to mentally, physically, and emotionally prepare for life's transitions, as well as how to set boundaries in moments of uncertainty. Most importantly, we're going to talk about how to continue to keep watering ourselves, how to keep blooming, and how to ensure that we are prepared for this next season of growth. So go ahead, go on and grab your Bloom journal if you have it, or grab that notebook that you've been utilizing to help you enhance, and let's embrace for the beauty of change. So let's start by acknowledging a simple truth. Change, friends, is inevitable. No matter how much we try to control our surroundings, change happens. It can come gradually, like growing into a new phase of life, or suddenly, like an unexpected job loss or a relationship shift. Many times we fear change because it simply disrupts what feels familiar. But what if we shifted our mindset? What if, instead of seeing change as something happening to us, we see it as something happening for us? Every change, even the painful ones, carries an opportunity for growth and transformation. I'll be the first to tell you, change isn't always easy to recognize in the moment. Sometimes it comes disguised as loss, failure, or rejection. But if we just take a step back, we can begin to see it for what it truly is: a redirection. Have you ever looked back on a time in your life and realized that something you once feared turned out to be one of the best things that have ever happened to you? Hmm. That, my friend, that's the power of perspective. Change, as I stated, can happen because of loss of a job, loss of a loved one, loss of what you thought a relationship should be, loss of someone suddenly when you're grieving. I like to talk about things or have these podcasts because many times it's based on my experience. And as we go into this week's episode, a lot of what we talk about has been things that I've been growing through and blooming through over the last 4.5 months. I lost a loved one, and that required a lot of change in my life. How I mentally deal with things, how I emotionally deal with things, how I spiritually deal with things, how I handle the physical aspect of change. And as we continue to talk about change and how it can plummet into things that are sometimes uncomfortable, and when we least expect it, is sometimes needed, I will insert parts of my journey so that I can share with you realistically how change can work to be something that, even though it hurts, is truly beneficial. Let's start with our first scenario. Maya. Maya had spent years climbing the corporate ladder. She had a steady job, great benefits, and everything looked good on paper. But deep inside, something was missing. A company wide restructuring suddenly forced her to reevaluate her path. At first, she felt lost, questioning what she would do next. But in the stillness, she realized that this was the push she needed to pursue her passion for creative work. What felt like an ending was actually the beginning of something more fulfilling. Take a moment, friends. Think about a moment in your life where change felt overwhelming. What did you learn from that experience? What new doors opened that you hadn't considered before? My experience. October 16th, 2024. I was having a phenomenal day. The days leading up to that day had been full of so much communication and discussion about blooming and where myself and a friend was headed. Our conversations were a little bit different. They were shifting. And I was like, wow, these are shifting, intense conversations. October 16th, a lot happened. The day was going about its normal way, um, and we were preparing dinner for the night. As we were preparing, the words of that we always shared came out. I love you, Kinshasha. I always loved hearing those words. Within 30 minutes, my best friend, whew, the person that I thought would always be here through every change I go through, had a heart attack. And from October 16th at 8:54 p.m. forward, life shifted. Change happened. And I had two choices, friends: to dwell in it, to live in it, to bask in the reasons why, or to shift my mindset. and take the change that was inevitable and allow it to help me to plant seeds to get me to the point where I am today. So let's talk a little bit about change and how to navigate it from a mental, physical, and emotional perspective. Navigating change isn't just about accepting it. It's about preparing ourselves to move through it with grace and resilience. Let's deep dive and talk about it and how we can do so in three key ways. Mentally, the stories we tell ourselves shape how we experience change. When faced with uncertainty, try shifting your inner dialogue. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is this trying to teach me? I'm a huge supporter of journaling. And journaling about your experiences can help reframe negative thoughts into empowering insights. If you take a moment and you list three things you've learned through the changes in your life, what happens? Now back to me. October. October and November was full of a huge need to shift my mindset. It wasn't easy. Journaling helped me. I remember going to therapy, seeking insight from my therapist, and we talked about my need to journal. And we talked about how I needed to get past the mindset shift of dealing with what I had experienced, but shifting how I appreciated everything that I've experienced. And journaling became that for me. I journaled every Wednesday night at 8:54 p.m. And I didn't go into journaling with, oh, I'm going to talk about this today. I journaled and I talked about what was truly on my mind. If it was a page full of, I love you, I love you, I love you, I miss you, I miss you, I miss you. How am I going to get through this? Please give me the strength to get through this. Please help me understand what I'm experiencing. Help me to have spiritual insight. It did not matter, friends. It was the need to journal, the need to get my feelings, what I was thinking, what I was experiencing out on paper so that I can understand what shift was needed to help me move forward. I knew that I needed a mindset shift, and I can tell you that journaling helped me considerably. And then we talk about physical change. Woo! Change can manifest as stress in the body. Sorry, friends. We can feel the tension in our shoulders, the fatigue, or even digestive issues. By incorporating movement, whether it's stretching, walking, or deep breathing, it can help to release some of that stored stress. Prioritizing sleep and nourishment is also essential when navigating transitions. The more, friends, we take care of our bodies, the more resilient we become. Now back to me, October. I didn't want to hear anything about sleeping, eating, focusing on me, movement. The one thing I did do was continue going to the gym. It helped. Um, and I'm fortunate. Ooh, this was hard. I'm fortunate to have a support system who was there for me during this time of change. I used to work out prior to this in the evenings. And then I shifted my workout to the mornings with the help of my dear trainer. And most mornings I would go in there and I had nothing to say. I'm thankful he was patient with me. I'm thankful, friends, that he allowed me the space to cry. I'm thankful that he encouraged me to take my time. It was one thing that helped me to shift and move myself accordingly. Eating took a little time, um, but I started with the help of therapy of if I could get yogurt down, then I ate yogurt. My trainer, Darnell, that I love so dearly that I'm naming him out. Yes, I'm calling it out. Say if it's just an Uncrustable, eat the Uncrustable. If it's a protein shake, drink the protein shake. Emotionally, just dealing with how my mental was through the physical change, understanding how to do things. I took a lot of walks. I listened to a lot of songs starting off that were so emotionally triggering that my entire walk, all I did was cry. But I needed it. The walking and the physicality of moving my body helped out, friends. And I say this because I was already doing the mindset shift. I was changing my perspective on how I looked at this experience. Physical movement is important, friends. When you're stressed, in doubt, whatever is going on, being able to move your body and allow yourself the ability to release that stress in different ways is important. And now let's talk about emotionally. You have to give yourself permission to feel. Whether you're feeling fear, sadness, excitement, or uncertainty, all emotions are valid. You have to allow yourself time to process, to lean on supportive friends or therapists, and practice self compassion. Friends, it's okay to not have all the answers right away. But what's important is creating a space in your life to process emotions without judgment. As I mentioned, my therapist said dedicate a day every week to just be engulfed in my feelings. And that helped me to shift into understanding that it was okay to feel whatever I was feeling and allow myself to bloom through the grief, to bloom through the fear, to bloom through the self doubt, to bloom through the worry, to bloom through the perception and the thoughts of others. It allowed me to just mentally have the space to identify and tell myself things would be okay. If I was driving and tears started flowing, guess what? Whoever drove past me, what they saw was tears flowing. If I was working out and on a treadmill and this one song kept playing, I just kept playing it on repeat. And if I needed to cry at that moment, guess what was allowed? The ability to just cry. My friends and family that were so supportive of where I am. I had to welcome them in. One of the hardest things and the ability to change that shifted me in the right direction was allowing people to love me when I needed the love the most. And slowly, I moved away from the heavy burden of the why me to the understanding and the change shift of why not me. Let's go back to Maya, not just me. When Maya lost her job, she went through all of the emotions: anger, fear, sadness. But instead of Maya suppressing them, she allowed herself to grieve through the loss of what she thought her career would be. Let's stop there. Grief isn't just about losing someone, losing a job, losing what we thought should be, losing a relationship, a loss of not getting something you thought you deserved. Maya journaled, she exercised, and she leaned in on her support system by tending to her mental, her physical, and her emotional health. Maya created the space she needed to embrace her next chapter with clarity. That's a word, that's a moment. And as we navigate change, it's important to set boundaries. Woo! Sometimes, friends, when we are in transition, the expectations of others can cloud our own needs. This is where protecting our energy becomes key. Now, this one, was life changing for me. I found myself still trying to go through the motion of the everyday. Everything that I did prior to October 16th, I needed to continue. I needed to continue. I needed to continue. And the people who loved me wholeheartedly, encouraged me to continue, to continue. Do the things that you've always done. Get out the house, move a little bit. Don't cry. Don't look at the pictures. Do something different. Don't be dwelling in what was needed. And what I found shortly was, because I was going through the motion of what everyone else expected of me, I was still dwelling a lot of pain that I wanted to go away. I got to the point where I didn't want to cry anymore. I wanted my thoughts to be thoughts of love, thoughts of understanding. I wanted to shift my mindset. And I realized that in order to really do that, I needed to set boundaries for myself. Now, despite what my therapist said, which helped early on, I kind of stopped the going somewhere either by myself or with a friend once a week or talking to someone every day on the phone. It was driving me crazy. I knew that for me, in order to change my mindset, to shift a little bit, I needed to really sit in the belly of what I was doing. So I started setting boundaries. Days that I would be home working, days that I would be home focusing on self care, days that I would do nothing and allow myself the ability to cry. It was important because boundaries allowed me the ability to really get in the belly of where my thoughts were. I had to protect my energy because I didn't have a lot of it, friends. I had to focus on me. I had to focus on me. So, December, January, those were the months that I really started setting some boundaries to help me align my mental with my physical, with my emotional, and give myself the ability to really, really, really work through the pain, work through the challenges, and work through how I needed to shift me. It was also the time that my questions about the reason why started turning into memories of the love and the experiences. Now back to Maya. Maya found that after her job loss, some people in her life offered unsolicited advice that made her doubt herself. Woo! Can you feel it? Have you been there? Others expected her to bounce back quickly. She realized she needed to set clear boundaries, limiting conversations that drained her, saying no to opportunities that didn't align with her vision, and prioritizing her own intuition. I know I'm not the only one who's experienced this. So think about your own experiences. Have you ever felt pressured to meet expectations that didn't align with where you were in life? How can you communicate your needs more clearly during moments of change? It's important, right? As I've discussed here, change isn't limited to one area of life. Change affects everything. As we have career shifts, it can feel daunting. But a shift can also create a space for reinvention. Relationships we're in, they evolve. Friendships shift, romantic partners change, and family dynamics transform. As we continue to grow, it requires us to accept that not all relationships are meant to last forever. Well being depends on our ability to listen to ourselves. Change often signals that it's time to adjust our routines, habits, or perspectives to better serve our evolving needs. Back to me. Change was inevitable. I didn't expect it. And Lord knows I did not want to go through it. I had two choices: go through it or grow through it. I chose to grow. It's now February. It's been a few months. How I handle things, the moments I cry, when I choose to journal, when I don't choose to journal, they've all shifted based on where I need to be right now. I've definitely set boundaries, and I've learned how to mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally embrace and challenge myself through this moment of change. Same with Maya. Maya's experience taught her that stepping into something new required her to realign all aspects of her life. She went on and built a new career. My girl found some friendships that truly supported her and cultivated a well being routine that kept her centered. Change for Maya and for me, though unexpected, helped her bloom into a stronger, more fulfilled version of ourselves, of herself and me. You know, friends, when I started today, I did not expect to talk so deeply about where I am in my shift of change. I said a short prayer and I said, wherever the conversation takes me, wherever the mood aligns me, I will speak to it. I will tell you that I'm still in the midst of my change. But here are the things that I think about when looking at it from a positive perspective. I'm stronger and stronger every day. I smile more and it's genuine. I understand that the change that I'm experiencing isn't because of something negative. It was a shift that happened, and I have to believe in the universe and everything that is aligned with me. I know that by having more of a positive mindset and redirecting my thoughts to be more positive centered versus negatively focused allows me the ability to shift and move in the direction that I need to be. I also know that because I'm on this journey of blooming and growing, that I don't know what the end result will be. I have no idea at all. The goal, friends, for me, as my shirt says, and as my friend always says, is to anticipate the positive, even on the days that are tough, even on the days that's daunting, even on the days that I'm tired or I look tired, that I need to anticipate the positive through everything. And that by staying mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually grounded, that this too shall pass. Change isn't something to fear. Change is actually something to embrace. Every transition we go through, no matter how difficult, brings an opportunity for us to grow. This week, I encourage you, friends, to reflect on the changes happening in your life. Instead of resisting them, lean in, friends. Trust that each shift is making space for something greater. I can say today that I appreciate the change that I'm going through. I appreciate them now because I understand that it's an opportunity for me to manifest something more positive, for me to grow through something more positive, for me to bloom as I need to bloom, for me to continue to encourage people to be the best versions of themselves and to authentically embrace everything that is surrounding them. Wednesdays at 8:54 are still a very important process of what I do every Wednesday. But here's what's different. Instead of me thinking about what happened in that moment and the fear that ensued and what I saw with my friend passing away, someone that I love and cherish more than I can ever put in words. Instead of me looking at that moment, I rewind back about 20 minutes prior to that moment when he looked in my eyes and said, "I love you, Kinshasha." And that's what's important to me. And that's what encourages me to anticipate the positive in all that I do. Because part of blooming is to be rooted in love and to grow in strength. And friends, if you don't know anything else about me, you know that I'm always going to plant seeds of love in everything that I do so that we can water those seeds by doing things that help us. And then what we see, ourselves evolve and grow in strength. This was a doozy, babe. This was a doozy. This was a doozy, friends. Reflect on that. And then next week, guess what? We're diving into reclaiming joy. How do we find happiness in the midst of life's chaos? Because, friends, joy isn't just something we stumble upon. It's something we cultivate. So we're going to go into that garden and start kneading a little bit and getting ourselves together. Until then, friends, this is your girl, Shy. Stay present, stay light, love on yourselves, water yourselves, and more than anything, keep blooming.